You are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fika with a new guest today, Rachel S. Roberts, and me, your host, Vicky Benison. Rachel is an author, sacred dance teacher, and the creator of Wolf Woman Rising. She reminds us of our wild roots and encourages us to return to them. She demonstrates wolf characteristics through story, physical wolves, and the myths that have connected us to them throughout time. Our focus today will be on Wolf, an inspirational guide to embodying your inner wolf, and Lupa, pagan portals, she-wolf of Rome and mother of destiny. I'm excited that Rachel's joining us because, yes, I may get to howl, and that is always a plus. And because she will assist us in our continuing look into wolves and how they have influenced us through story and being who they are. And perhaps, in allegedly big bad wolf style, she will blow down some walls. Walls that have been separating us from ourselves, from our communities, and even the world. But perhaps not any brick walls, because those take a little bit more time. We can't expect miracles from Rachel today. Thank you for your insight and wisdom, Rachel, and welcome to Fika.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here.
It's a delight. And I'm sure it's going to become even more delightful as we go along. So, my first question is going to be, what drew you to wolves?
So, wolf spirit, wolves, I think drew me because of the theme and the word untamed. And I remember, like when I was younger and through my whole life, trying to fit in, trying to find a right way of being. And this is a theme that has come up so many times for me, like, who am I? And, comparing myself to other people and the way I was told to be, I had a very kind of quite strict childhood. And when I saw wolves, they were just wolves. They were, they were wild and untamed. I think that predator aspect as well, that strength, that courage, but they were just what they were. They were untamed. And they have very much taught me the lesson that I needed to hear, which is that my way is the right way. There is no the right way. There is just the way that is right for me. And that's the story that I needed to hear growing up, coming into myself, finding myself. And I think that's why they came to me and why I was drawn to them.
And also because they probably knew that you would be able to express that so well. And you have, both now and in the book. And I think there's something about a strict upbringing that will lead you in certain directions, because freedom becomes your most important goal, right? To be able to be yourself and not criticized for it. Now, I love the thought, and the other Rachel, Rachel P brought this up with dragons, and it began the whole thing as well, that we don't have to meet these beings in dreams or on the street. You're coming. We always see someone walking down the street, and then there's this lone wolf looking at them, right? And then it's like, oh, you can meet them through stories, art that you're attracted to, movies, documentaries. There are so many different ways that wolf can come to you. How do you know if you're a wolf person, if this is the howl you should follow, or is wolf open to anyone who asks?
So I think this comes down to trusting self, just trusting your instincts, your gut. Like, no one else can tell you what things are meant to look like, how they're meant to feel, how they're supposed to be. So only you will know, whether you're meant to connect to wolf. And I would just connect to that gut feeling. I mean, there's going to be signs, in the fact that you perhaps, you found yourself listening to this podcast, or you've been seeing wolves, or maybe the characteristics of something you've been seeking, you know, kind of that courage or that tenacity or something, there will be kind of synchronicities, like nothing's ever coincidence. Wolf will come up because you need it. You know, some people have wolf as a companion ally that is a lifelong ally, perhaps lifetimes ally. Sometimes, you know, they will just be there with you for a certain period of time because you need a particular lesson or you need to embody something. And I think, you know, that diversity of wolf, it's one of the things, one of the lessons that they teach us is about diversity, about having the right pathway for you, your uniqueness. And I think so, you know, there's so many different ways that you can approach wolf and that you can work with them, that I think there is something there for everybody. You know, not everybody's going to be needing to embody that alpha kind of leader energy. Some people are going to need the pup energy. You know, there's so many different deities as well that you can connect to. Maybe the lessons about throat chakra healing, or about the lessons that are about becoming wild, the lessons connecting to your feminine. You know, there's so many different aspects that you can connect to. I do think there is something for everything. And when the signs appear, they will come and you will just know, like, you don't need anybody else's permission. It's not going to look like any way anybody else looks, you know. So I can tell you my story, you can read other people's examples, but what happens for you is perfect and meant to be. But, you know, if you find yourself perhaps howling, you know, by accident, or that's often a sign, you know, or your skin starts going furry.
Did we go
No, I'm
out
joking.
for a
I'm
while?
joking. Oh, was I talking to myself? Oh, that's fine. That's
No, I'm
normal.
sure the people could hear you. He says it's all well, so I must have just froze. All right. Good thing I gave that talk at the last minute before. So did you all get okay, guys, did you hear what Rachel said? Please let me know immediately. I read the book, so I don't know, but I want her words to get out there. Okay, I'm sure they're typing facetiously. So I'm going to say that there are a lot of different lessons from Wolf. And Robin, get back to me, please. And I want you. And there's live radio, people. Every so often, it's going to happen. We've been having a good streak. So, yes, all good. But did you hear Rachel before, David? Did you hear what she was saying before? Okay. I don't like to be sexist, but I'm just going to say men. So, Rachel. Yes. Okay. So it was just me having a problem.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go with, she can nod or whatever, that Rachel just said there are many reasons to follow Wolf, and they're open to all of us. And because I read the book, then I know what those reasons are. You should read the book too, okay? Especially if things there. We'll go into where you can find it later on. Now, if I had to pull one idea out of this book, and we'll come back, we'll jump all around. If I had to pull one idea out of this book, it would be self-acceptance. Because as you write, you need to accept yourself before you can accept the world to do that. And that is such a refreshing statement in this world, because, you know, there's so many books that tell you how to be perfect. There's so many articles that tell you how to be perfect. You're not being perfect unless you're being perfectly yourself. And so what is it that you found so important about self-acceptance, Rachel?
So I think what you have is what you have. You know what I mean? Like, you literally cannot be anything else. And I know that sounds like, you know, really obvious.
No.
You know,
it's perfect.
honestly, you know, we're constantly trying to be something else, but this is what we have. This is what we've been given. And, you know, if we were meant to be something else, if we were meant to be someone else, we would be. And to doubt that we're wrong in any way, I think it's to doubt the divine plan and to doubt God, you know, or whatever you call the creator, you know, because you have been given this. And I believe we all have a unique blueprint that is ours, that we're coming here. And, you know, and our body, you know, is ours for a reason. It's not a mistake, you know, to To not have self-acceptance would be to believe that this is all a mistake, and if it was, it wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? So this is the best also that you can have now for fulfilling that blueprint, for that reason, that purpose that you're here. This is what you've been given, your skills, you know, the way that you look, the way that you sound, the way that you taste, the way that you smell, the way that you express, everything is like that for a reason. You know, you do have a purpose and a reason. And I think when we come into self-acceptance of that, accepting that this is what we were meant to have, I think that's when we can start stepping into fulfillment. You know, we feel like we're always lacking something, don't we? Otherwise, you know, I should be this or I should be that. And I think self-acceptance, yeah, is kind of that key, I think, to, I don't know, to kind of like embracing life and living life. You know, the way I look at it, you know, is like with flowers, every single flower, you know, has a unique medicinal property. You know, so imagine if every single flower could only cure coughs. I mean, it'd be great if we all had coughs, but what about all the other kind of, you know, problems, you know, that need that solution and need that kind of that thing. You know, some flowers don't have any medicinal properties. They're purely for being beautiful. That's their whole purpose. A summer, you know, it's about their smell. Some it's about the fact that they can actually constrict and destroy other things, you know, so they all have their unique purpose. You know, we are made of nature. We're made of the soil and the stars, so we're exactly the same. We're not different than those flowers. We all are made completely unique. And again, you know, if we were to not accept ourselves, we are also not accepting that the flowers and the trees and the animals have their own unique purpose and their own value. You know, we're connected, and what we believe about ourselves, what we accept about ourselves, the kind of the energy that we hold on to is, I think, is kind of reflects and is connected to the world and to nature as well. I said, if you're rejecting yourself, I think you are rejecting what your God has given you, and you're rejecting nature. You're saying that everything's not meant to be as it is, and I believe it most definitely is.
See, I told you guys I would just sit here and nod my head yes, because she just relays these ideas so beautifully. And it is. And then if you accept yourself, then you're going to like it more. If you see what you have can give you, right? You're going to,
Hmm.
and then you won't want to change. No, I think this is who I am and I like it. And
Yeah.
also you speak of the fact that in a wolf pack, everybody does have their own distinct reasons for being there. And there isn't just one importance
Hmm.
in that world as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm sure that a lot of people have seen, you know, kind of that image of, you know, the wolves kind of trotting along in a line, and they've got, you know, the ones at the front and the ones at the back, you know. So when they're walking along like that, the ones that are in the front are the biggest, and the reason the biggest are in the front is so they can shove the snow out the way. I mean, imagine if you put the puppy at the front of any line, you know, like you put the kid at the front of the line, you'd end up walking around in circles, you'd end up falling down the snowdrift, you know. So it's not that you know that they're better than anybody else. Is that that's the service that they can provide, and therefore they're offering that, you know. And it's like, if the mum's pregnant, she might not go out hunting because she's not able to at the time, you know. Or there might be some male wolves that are really good at babysitting, so they do that in the pack, and every pack member is able to contribute, you know, what they're best at, you know, their best self, you know. And so, I mean, we can't contribute until we really know what it is that we have to offer. And you know, self-acceptance really is the kind of the opening to that. Like, this, okay, this is what I've got. Great, this is what I've got. So now I can offer it. I can be of service because I know exactly what it is that I have to give. You know, what is my skill set? You know, why am I here? Why do I sound this way? You know, um, once we know that, then we can start contributing in a way that offers us for true fulfillment and also is of service as well.
And I think that's important in the book. You describe all the different purposes. So the purpose of learning, the pups learn, but that is also contributing to the pack and giving someone else a purpose. And that learning should be fun. Because I was just envisioning the pup leading the trail with, oh, look at there's a squirrel. Oh, look.
Mhm.
They are easily distracted, but that brings joy and purpose to other people. And
Mhm.
it's just beautifully written. I can't do it justice, people. I just can't do it justice. I can't do Rachel justice on this one. So the idea that we have that,
Mhm.
okay, that guy in the front, that's the alpha, and they just push everybody around, and you have cited like actual wolf studies and things within the
Mhm.
book. Is sort of an image that is incorrect and that is being
Yeah.
foisted out there, because he will step back if there's someone that is better at hunting something. Or, well, you mentioned that the females are actually in charge.
Mhm. Yeah. And this is the thing with alpha, it's, any knowledge can be misused, for it's all about intention, isn't it? So, when it comes to a wolf pack, the wolf pack is not like you have like them. I think the image that's put across sometimes is all fighting for dominance, and then this like super duper like muscly, attractive wolf will then become the superior and the leader. It doesn't work that way at all. So you'll have a lone wolf and a lone wolf, male and female. It's always male and female in packs, just because that's biologically what it is. They'll come together so they can reproduce. And they will have pups. They become the alpha male and alpha female because they're the parents. That's just the natural kind of head of the pack. And then their children will then become the pack. They'll have more generations, and there'll be younger wolves. There'll be kind of teenager wolves that will help with the babysitting. Some might go off and make their own pack and then become an alpha. So this alpha kind of idea isn't really about kind of domination. It's about just a natural leadership role, and a leader is very much different to a dominant. There's different energies kind of going on. It's not a dictatorship at all. And the way that they work, is they work as a partnership. They're working, they've got the masculine and the feminine there. There's the two, that they're metaphorically and they're physically as well. And often you'll find, like in wolf studies, you'll often find it has been the she wolves that are actually the dominant partner. So kind of like you can see that they're like the ones that will make the decision, and they're like, kind of nudging their partner, like, come on, go on, you want to go and do that now, don't you? I've had this great idea, maybe we should go and do that. And then, her kind of hubby wolf is like, okay, I'll go and do it. And he'll find the best way of doing it, and it's always amazed me, like reading that, it just so much reflects the way that our own inner masculine, our own inner feminine works as well. So they give us a great example of how to work as a partnership with that kind of that balance and that harmony of both the masculine and the feminine. They're never without each other. They're always
Well,
working
no, because
together,
one is
collaboration.
action and one is
Mhm.
nurturing, caring, and
Intuition,
you
yeah.
need that together. Even within ourselves, we need to
Hmm.
take action for what we want, but also take care of ourselves. If we
Yeah.
get too tired or cranky or whatever,
Hmm.
take
Yeah.
that nap. Now, when we talk about, and this has become actually in the form of predator, I used that once in an interview, and someone said it was dark. Like, but we're talking about vampires; they're predators. Like, what am I supposed to do? Um,
Hmm.
so you say we must walk in the light and the darkness, as the wolves do. They can
Hmm.
see in that light. When you say darkness, what your context for that? What do you mean
Hmm.
by darkness?
So I just want to share that, dark, just like light, is just a word. It's
Yes,
just a
yes.
label. It's just a term. It could be used for anything. I mean, we could have called dark the sunshine. It's just a term, but it ends up with so much baggage. So like for me, dark, is the kind of the deep, rich brown of the earth. It is the nighttime where the stars shine. It's just one side of the coin. It's one hand to the other hand. The light and the dark, they're what two parts of a whole. So for so for me, it's just dark is just one part of wholeness. And you can't know fully, you can't have fullness, unless you've got those two parts. So it's essential, I think. And it's not something that we can deny or get rid of. It is just what it is, and it is just there. And to know it and to explore it means that we can integrate it if we have rejected it within ourselves. If that label or that term has, for some reason, got some kind of connected, kind of residue of stickiness or unpleasantness or whatever
yuckiness.
we put on
And
it. Yeah.
it doesn't, everybody sees it through that. Not everybody. I think it's the same, it shares the same thing as the idea of wolf. Anything,
Mm-hmm.
when it's dark, originally, when it was dark, you couldn't see everything. You couldn't be sure of a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
There were shadows and things. And also, wolf is a wild animal. You cannot be sure of
Mm-hmm.
what he's going to do. I mean, even walking my
Yeah.
own dog, someone would come up and say, is your dog okay if my dog comes up to it? And I'm saying, I don't know. He could be sick
No.
today. He could be tired. He's not telling me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not. Just, stay off. Unpredictable things or unpredictable futures are scary for people in short. Okay. Robin, I agree with you wholeheartedly. People should embrace who they are. If people stop comparing themselves, I think our society would be a lot happier. Couldn't
Mm-hmm.
agree more, Robin. Couldn't agree
Yeah,
more.
you're incomparable
You
compared
definitely
to
are. And being aware of who you are brings happiness. Even you know who you are and what you want. So you're not scrolling through Facebook saying, oh my gosh, they just climbed Mount Everest. I'm so jealous. Because if you wanted to climb Mount Everest, you probably would. Why are you
yeah.
jealous of something that is not something that you want? But we're just set up to think,
Yeah. The thing is, though, is that jealousy is highlighting something, as in,
yeah.
it's highlighting something within yourself that's a signpost to your desire, or the places you're feeling unfulfilled, or the places where you're not being authentic. So if you look at other people and there's something in particular that you're like, oh, that brings up jealousy in me, get curious with that. Like, why is that making me jealous? Like, what is it that I feel that I'm lacking? Why do I feel I'm lacking that? And what does that signpost to me that there's something within myself that's asking to be listened to, so it can help, so you might not be wanting to climb my Everest, but it might be even be your body saying you need to go for a walk today, or it might be that you've got a true desire to travel within you that you've never acknowledged, so you just have to just listen. That's an invitation
So
every time you
yes,
feel that.
because all of our emotions, that was covered as well. All of our emotions are important in telling us things. I have no
Hmm.
desire to climb a mountain. I will buy a postcard. So I'm okay with those. But yes, if you're not living your dream, if that's someone else's dream, those feelings might come up. So, and definitely look at them. I'm just I shouldn't say that. I don't work. I'm just in an anti-social media mood today.
Oh.
Because I have no focus. That's the problem. And it takes
Fine.
me away.
It's what it is what it is.
I'm like that puppy. Oh, look at that shiny thing. I think I need to. I think I need
Yay!
to.
Let's go on an adventure.
But social media does help us communicate. And I would not be here today
Hmm.
on Fika if it wasn't for social media. So, and communication is important to us here. Um, you
Hmm.
talk, and I love this too. You talked about the different ways that wolves communicate and
Hmm.
what they mean and how we can
Hmm.
apply that to our lives. And it made a lot of sense to me, right? Like there are people that we will bark at a lot.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that barking? Why do we choose that thing? So do you want to elaborate a little bit on that for us?
Yeah, of course. It's something that I felt was really important to bring forth in the books. It's one of the primary lessons I think of Wolves is about communication. And you see so many problems in the world, like so many situations where it's just down to poor communication. People just aren't consciously communicating or don't know how to communicate. And I don't think it's something that we're really taught, very well at all. Whereas in the pack, the they'll be howling and growling together, to learn what those responses are, and how to communicate effectively. So maybe the best way of talking about it is like I kind of think in terms of like a chocolate bar, right? So say I had a chocolate bar and I was barking like, whoa, it's kind of like, I want the chocolate bar, like it's a territorial thing, it's kind of barking like, I want that chocolate bar right now. And then there's growling, if it's a deep growl, it might be very defensive, like, you do not touch my chocolate bar right now, this is mine. If someone growls, they're not in the chocolate bar sharing kind of mood. A whimper, you might whimper at the chocolate bar because it makes you feel really good, or you might whimper at your friend like, I want to share this chocolate bar with you. It's kind of got that vibe about it. It can be a submissive kind of way of communicating, like, I bow down to you, a great chocolate bar, you solve all my problems.
And this is true.
Or there's like the howl. The howl would be kind of like me saying to my mate, to kind of roads down, I have a chocolate bar, come share it, this is where I am. So we have all those different ways. Now imagine if I kind of use them in the wrong context, so say I really wanted to share my chocolate bar with my friend, and every time I kind of passed a chocolate bar over to them, I growled at them. Well, they'd draw away from me, wouldn't they? They would be like, whoa, okay, that's really defensive. Or if I whimpered, to someone, oh yeah, go and have my chocolate bar, I really didn't want them to have it. There's appropriate times to be communicating in certain ways, and often we get into habits, or we're taught things, bad communication from our parents or society, and I think we need to reflect more, we need to listen more. It's one of the keys, I think, of what I call grandfather wolf, which is the wise male sage of the archetypal wolf pack. He's really about listening, listening in a way that's not just like, how many times we're listening and we're just planning what we're going to say in response, or we're thinking about ourselves, not truly listening with our eyes, listening with our heart, listening with our body, listening with our soul, so we're fully present. And this is listening to ourselves and listening to others, listening to the energy, the body language, everything before we start to communicate, and as we're receiving communication as well. So I think connecting to all those different types, exploring those different types of communicating that wolves do, can show us all the different ways that are possible for us, that we can do. And can help us to discern that, what we're using when, why we're using it, what's become a habit. Do we automatically default to something in particular, or do we need to work on something? If we're not particularly good at perhaps growling our boundaries, or maybe we're not so good at doing the soft whimper, that's sharing, expressing pleasure, it can show us what we need to work on. So yeah, that's the way I have it in my book, but also in my courses, we go for all of this. This is where the howling comes in, where we get to howl. Oh,
All right.
always comes out.
No, but we should just do that to clear. It's right though. When you think about it, if you didn't listen, if you just thought about what you would, we miss out on so many howls in life telling us something's good or something's wonderful, because we want to express what we want to express. And listening is so important, and so that we can, and listening to tone, and as you said, and listening to the tone. And I apologize for the phone. I swear to goodness, I turned it off. I don't know what's happening today. I apologize, Rachel. I wanted to say I'll go over time because I just wanted to add this. I just thought of it. We once picked up a dog from near Algonquin Park up in Northern Ontario. And he was running. He lived with a gentleman who went away and would leave him during the week. So he was running in the woods, and he was driving people up the wall. So it was suggested as we were up there, because we loved him. Well, he just walked into our trailer one morning on a full moon. So that was his thing um, was that we should take him home. So I felt bad because I'm like, but he has all this wilderness. He's going to town, and that was like, it was a lot of work with him, and we got him a treadmill so he could travel as he used to. But that dog, we had another dog, and I watched him, when we took for walks, and he had a definite way of communicating with the other dogs on the street. Like he had to meet them, and he had, and he was half Bernese and half Labrador, so he's this huge black dog, and people were thinking, like, no, it's really a baby. But he would have to meet them, and he would let the other dog go first, and he would let a dog take his food out of his bowl because it wasn't worth. So as you were speaking, even before I was thinking, yes, there. And I just thought he learned from wolves. He hung with wolves because that's the only dog I've ever had, I've ever seen like this. He knew he had his etiquette and he kept to it. And so this reminded me so much of what you're saying. It is so true. They have such an etiquette that we could follow. Like, no, that's not worth fighting over. It's not life or death. I'm going to listen to what the pups have to say. And so the whimper, I want to go to the whimper because, when you say whimper, I thought, I don't know why, but whimpers sound sort of like you said, you're being submissive but that is also happiness. I am comfortable and I am here.
Yeah.
We see in society, and I want you to say this really loudly so everybody listens. We see being submissive, being comfortable, being kind, being giving. We see all those things as weakness. And you say it's not. So I want you to tell people that.
Yeah. Kindness is not a weakness. Never a weakness. Never, ever, 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 ever a weakness. And the reason I say that is because there's so little kindness in the world. And I see this every day. And if you look at, in the end, what's more powerful, kindness or hatred, it's always going to be kindness that trumps it. But I think that, it can be difficult, for two reasons. I think let's go down the first route first. So sometimes, as growing up, like, especially I think for women, we're kind of told about this good girl archetype. You should be a good girl and, you should always behave, keep quiet, keep scum, don't say anything. You should be seen, not heard. And often as women, when we're reclaiming ourselves, we're trying to get out of the good girl, aren't we? And we're trying to kind of access other parts of ourselves. So sometimes the good girl can kind of see as like the thing that restrained us, that was wrong for us. So therefore, kind of sometimes it can fly the opposite way. So, you can find that some people end up barking all the time. I'm barking, so I was never able to bark, so it can go that kind of, like, can flip to the other extreme.
No, it's true, because you get those memes that are like, I will do what I want. You can't, and it's like, that's okay.
It goes from selfless to self-centered, and there needs to be a place of balance, a place of harmony there in the center, that it is not the extremes either way. But I just think, I think kindness is so important, and I think it is the most courageous thing you can do, is to live from your heart, to live from a loving place. I mean, loving is, it's vulnerable. It can be scary. It requires you to be completely open. In fact, when you're not kind, you're completely closed up. No one can see you. Nobody knows who you are. You're not being you. Whereas being kind, you're opening yourself. You're opening everything that you are, and you're giving. And kindness is not also reciprocal. And then, our society is very reciprocal now. We always expect something in return. I'll only give you this if you give me this. So to be just kind with no kind of wanting or desiring anything in return, I think is quite radical, actually. And it, it's so simple, but it has a ripple effect that is just like you can't even put it into words, you know, and we don't do it because we get something from it. And I think that's why it's so powerful.
Yeah, everything she just said. Everything Rachel just said. It is something that I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, let's radicalize kindness. Because if you radicalize something, it becomes popular and it grows. So
Yeah.
I'm radical. Yeah. Okay. That's my next mission, people. I'm going to radicalize kindness. But it is
Mm-hmm.
true. And we do believe, like, okay, first of all, it doesn't matter whether I bark or whatever I do. I was given a voice that is going to sound lighter no matter what I do. And that, and being told I was nice and the whole good girl, you're such a thing. And I fought against that for a lot of years. And I wasn't any of those things because I was choosing to be them or because they're better than something else. Because, you know, when people give everything, they also have to learn to take back. Otherwise, they're not really, we're going to get into martyr stuff. And so there's a whole lot of work there, in the interim. But the point is, you don't have to be tough to be radical. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to radicalize kindness,
Yeah.
Rachel. That's
Yeah.
all of it. It's the thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It is so true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking people here, right? Not wolves. Well, there are, Robin says, there are alpha males and females in a wolf pack. From my experience, alpha people are not very nice. What are your thoughts, Rachel?
What I would say is that they're not embodying the alpha that is embodied by the alpha of the wolf pack. I mean, if often you'll find that if someone's embodying what I would call kind of like a negative alpha, you'll find that they don't have a pack. Because a pack, by definition, is a group, a team that supports each other and has allowance, acceptance, and works together for the benefit of the all. If someone's being, someone that, is domineering, dictatorship, is being nasty, controlling, they won't have a pack. They may be manipulating and controlling lots of people, but they won't have a pack. In fact, you're going to find that type of person is the loneliest person on this planet. And they are not going to be able to receive any kind of kindness because they're blocking it,
They probably don't even love themselves, although they might appear to. They aren't going to be loving themselves. I think that's what we, when we talk about the filter and talk about the strength, somehow, as you mentioned, the world has just got topsy-turvy about
Mm-hmm.
kindness, what is being strong. And as you mentioned with the wolves, they achieve the alpha status by having children,
Mm-hmm.
not by being like the lone.
Yeah.
All of it is just wrong. Okay, let's start over, Rachel. You take over the wolf, the wolf explanations, but you need to become a parent to become the alpha. So you care about something. So I'm not saying you have to have a child. You can have a business. It's just something you are passionate about, something that
Mm-hmm.
you love, and that is the thing that you're taking care of. But this new form of alpha is just about, look at me, so they're not in alpha, but society is calling them alpha males.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's this continuation of that kind of like, misuse of that label and that term again, that, yeah, it's sad, really. I feel sorry for them, because like I said, they're probably the loneliest people, on this planet. But, the alpha really comes from experience. It comes from wisdom, that's what's, and the thing is that there are times as well, and this doesn't happen in society, does it? But there are times in the wolf pack when alpha will step down because then and no longer be the alpha. You might find that their children step up, because maybe it's old age, or normally it's old age, but then they're cared for within that pack, but they're no longer making the decisions because they're being cared for instead. And yet you kind of see like this, and maybe I don't know if I should say this, but you
Say
know
it.
you know, kind of like this male energy that is domineering and being dictatorship, even to the point where they're not well anymore. Like, you know, and I think that maybe I'm being a bit controversial here, but I have this thing about I don't think that there should be any leadership of people maybe after they've reached a certain age, because then they can start contributing something different. They should be, rather than leading, they should be offering their wisdom, their counsel. They should be listening, offering the skills that they have, rather than putting it into action, because the leader is the one that takes action. You know, it's the one that kind of like in the wolf pack is the one that's putting everything into kind of like processes and systems, whereas the advisor would be the one that is kind of like, you know, has that high energy, that wise energy, that is the grandfather, you know, that's embodying that. And you know, they're offering something different. I don't know if I'm quite expressing that in the way. I
No,
apologize if it comes across in,
you're expressing it
I don't know how
wonderfully.
to put it,
Okay.
but you know.
I'm getting what you're saying here. So you're expressing it perfectly. The thing is that once you get a certain age, the world that you're leading, the future that you're developing is not one you're going to live in. So back off. We get
But you know, like, and leadership isn't forever, you know, it's something that you're contributing at a time that you can contribute, if you're suited to contribute that in the best way that you can. And then, you know, and then the alpha can step down. They might become alpha again, but it's really decided. It's not like clinging on to, you know, they have
no,
to do
because
it
it's
because
natural.
it makes me look good, or
It's
because I want to be strong, you know, that you're, as the alpha, you're in service. That is the point. You are
how
in
much
service. It's about everybody else. It's not about you at
yeah,
all.
no,
Nothing to do with you.
you're
Yeah.
taking care of them. No, but how much stronger can you be than knowing when it is your time to change roles? I mean,
Hmm.
none of us like change, period. I mean, some of us embrace it more, but it always comes with this bit of chaos. So
Hmm.
the even if someone gets in our see, we people are making a mess of it. Okay. And I'm not saying I don't like people. I'm not doing one of those. I like my dog better than people. I like people, but I'm just saying we can improve. So, um, in a family, someone gets sick. They've been the breadwinner. They've been that person. This is a difficult thing, and all the roles have to change and redevelop within the family. And that is a hard thing for someone to do. So they may growl. They
Yeah.
may, because they're just back off. I mean, I don't want to be touched. They're not liking themselves very much in that moment. They should. They should
Hmm.
care about themselves, but that's not the way we have been trained. So we need to look at how important wisdom with an expectation that the advice is going to be listened to,
Hmm.
that someone's going to buy our book. It's just they should buy the book. Okay. Wisdom, it should be given with without expectation. Leadership should be given with love for all the people and the best outcome for them. This is what we should be looking at. But for some reason, we have just gone into I'm tough. I'm going to take over here. You can't mess with me kind of mentality.
Yeah.
So, Robin, fix that. Okay. So some of us just shove off the responsibilities. um, so okay, so we talked about the female and the male, and so I'm gonna paraphrase some things because we're going to I said we have man caves. Okay. But we don't really have women caves. We have she sheds that if you go, if you look at them online are all bright and light and the sun is shining through those windows and there's no privacy. Okay. Why is that? Why do you think that is, Rachel? Why don't we get caves where we can go down and just be comfortable and safe and nobody can bother us?
Mm. See, I do think we do have caves as women, and I think we're exceptionally lucky. Again, this might be a bit controversial, but I think, like, I look at the yoga studios near to me, I look at social media and the events that are on local, and it's women's circles, women's temples, women's dancing, women's sound healing, women's this, women's that, women's that. We have so many caves now, and I know we have had to fight.
But we have
Sorry,
group
I don't
caves.
know if I could swear then. Sorry, I was like, we've had to fight to reclaim that, haven't we? And now it is abundant. However, like I said before about the dark and the light, there's two sides of a coin, and there, along with the feminine, is the masculine. And we have risen. We have more than broken free. I mean, obviously there's still work that needs doing, but I believe the work that needs doing is that we need to be rising together now. There needs to be some kind of time for the men to work out, okay, what is life now? What is the dynamics now? How do we work this partnership, this pack? And I see, like, a lot of men have these man caves, and it's almost like a retreating from the world, because the world isn't safe for them anymore, because there's this push into either being this
Well,
dangerous this dangerous masculine they've got to embody, and they've got to be the alpha that's powerful and rah, or they're not welcome, and I don't know. This is just my viewpoint, the way I see it, and I feel like,
no. I see
am I getting my
exactly
point
what you're
across?
saying. No, I get what you're saying, and it is a confusing time all around. And I think the responsibility for that is on both sides, and for people that haven't stepped down from leadership roles or time. I mean, when you have a son, you you hear and see what they go through, what they're being told. Like, and there's subtle things in society, like, don't you have a girlfriend yet, or whatever, that they have all of these things going on. You have to be. And so I think it is very confusing to them, because the older generation is telling them one thing, which is what they knew, and this is what it means. And then they're being told other things from other outlets. Like, I'm not even sure what they're supposed to be doing. This one is confusing for all of us. So I think there needs to be more coming together, more communication. It's in some circle, people are afraid to ask questions because they feel like they're going to be silly. And in other places, if you ask a question, it's now considered that you're asking it to catch somebody up. Like, it's not seen as an honest question. So that communication needs to really start taking place. So I agree with you.
We need to start listening. But I just see it's like so often with my male mates, especially like when we as women are all telling each other about self-care. It's, oh, women, maybe self-care, you want to take a bath, or you want to go meditate, or you want to go and do something really nourishing. And then the self-care for men is like, well, go and hide in a dark room completely on your own, or go and stare at your phone for 10 minutes. Like, what's been offered for them?
But I am jealous of that. Sometimes I want to go in a dark room.
Well, yeah, I know, but there's a time and a place. But I just,
they're told this is
it's
what
just a concern for me. Personally, I kind of feel like what's been offered for the men. Where is their retreat? Because we all retreat into the cave. I know, like, literally in real wolves, the female wolf is the one that births. She's the one that has the womb, so she goes into the cave. But in human life, metaphorically, we all go into the cave. We all go into dark times, and I feel that actually now women, we have more access and more knowledge and perhaps understanding of how to get out of the dark, how to return
because
to
we're
the
used
cave.
to those natural cycles. Okay.
Yeah.
We live them. They're we don't really have a rite of passage for young males
No,
anymore.
we don't.
Females have that natural cycle. We don't have that for men or younger ones growing up. There's a lot. This is why I like this wolf thing. There is a lot that we are missing right now in this communication. And this is from I have a daughter, I have a son. I see it going both ways. You care for all it, and some people just use them as a way to get rid of frustration or whatever, or you're just all like
Mhm.
this, or you're just so. I think on both sides, the intelligent. I'm gonna say, don't worry about being controversial. I can't believe what I'm about to say, but the sensitive, intelligent people are really hurting because they want to help and they don't want to say the wrong thing and they don't want to do the thing. And they come on radio shows and say, I may be being controversial here, but that but is so important. We need to look into uniting things now, and it's also how how confident you are. My husband just wrote on here, my man cave is full of Star Wars stuff. Yes, it is. So he does not care if he looks like he's an adult. He's going to be a puppy all his life. I've accepted that. Two, when we would go to festivals or anything, they would have scented soap. I would go over and see it, and they would say, "Well, aren't you getting any?" Because I was interested. I'm like, "I'm going over to my husband to choose the scent," and they would all be like, and he would just walk over there and choose his scent, and so it depends on the. And he gets a lot of flack for that, especially since he was a truck driver, and some institutions are still very much more leaning towards a man is a man kind of thing, and he just laughs it off. So we need more. Not there's many things he's not a good example for, but in that way, he is a good example because he does what he wants, regardless of what anybody's thinking around him. But it's very, and I accept that because I'm just an accepting person. But it is very difficult for someone who is very young trying to grow up in this kind of thing. And yes, next book. Well, you do have a next book, but next book after that it has to be what shall we call it, Rachel? I don't know. I'm thinking about uniting the human pack. Something. Something. Okay. We can't spend the show thinking about this. I told you the hour was going to go
Watch this
fast, and
space.
here we are. Okay, so
I got distracted by like your husband smelling nice. I was just like,
it doesn't happen all the time.
what does he smell like?
It depends on we haven't, like I said, allergies, all kinds of stuff happening in this house. We haven't been to a lot of festivals lately, so I don't know. And please don't ask me to get close to him. I'm just joking. Okay, throw this way. If you were to pick your favorite, the ones that you've worked most with, deities, gods, goddesses connected to the wolves, what would they be?
So the primary ones that I work with or have worked with, Lupa, of course, but I don't know if we're going to talk more about her. So I'll talk about the two others, and the two other guys that I connect most with are Apollo and Mars. And these are two of my primary kind of guides, part of my what I call my council. Two different reasons, really, the two different ways I work with them. I mean, Apollo, because I'm a dance teacher as well, being professional dancing, the way that I express is through movement and sound, and when I'm belly dancing, I kind of feel Apollo there with me, and I just adore poetry. And he's really taught me about expression. Like, he's your go-to if you want to kind of work on expressing yourself, how to express yourself, the beauty of your own uniqueness and the way that you are meant to sound, the way that you are meant to express, like your body and your voice looks and sounds a certain way, for a reason. So he's going to help you kind of connect into that. And also he's the god of, plague and disease, but also of healing. So he kind of embodies that paradox, that there is that potential that the same thing, can be a poison and can be a cure. And it's about balance and harmony and using things in the right way, like our speech and like music. And then Mars, for me, one of my most beloved gods, Mars Pater, the father. He was the father of Rome. He's a god of vegetation, a god of plant life, of farming, of boundaries. You know, he was the one that was about agriculture. So for the ancient Romans, before them, the Latins, the Etruscans, he was very connected to the earth. And he's been very important, you know, for me on my journey, and when I'm teaching people as well about embodying
Right.
the archetype of father wolf. You know, the father wolf that is, you know, the wolf that will, you know, in the spiritual realms now, the spiritual council, you know, he's going to help you to establish those boundaries. Why are they there? You know, who and what are they serving? How do they need to adapt? How they need to be flexible? Is it letting in? Is it letting out? You know, discerning all these ways that boundaries can be effective and effective. And also, he can help you to embody Father Wolf, as in the, you know, the energy of courage, and to, you know, act on behalf of the other, you know, in service, and to channel your fire so that it is coming forth in a way that is the nourishing hearth rather than the destructive, you know, fire that's going to destroy the forest. You know, he's going to help you with that as well. So they're kind of my two primary ones. And I it's interesting when people ask me this, because they're like, oh, you're so feminine, and I thought it'd be the goddess. But I really relate to, and I really needed male deities because of woundings from the masculine. You know, and I find that if people are, you know, find that they have any kind of wounding with God, or with, you know, with men or the masculine energy, then to work with male deities actually can be really profound and very healing, you know, because they're not human males.
Well, I
Or the negativity, you know, that can
no.
sometimes come from that, you know,
Well,
because it
it's
has.
difficult, in relationships. It is difficult with this. Like, I have a Sarah News poster in front of me, and I I love him, but you're not. It is about you more. You know they're going to be protective. It's not, as you pointed out, the whole serving thing. Goes back to what you were saying about having to get something for everything, and oh, sorry, about getting something for everything that you put out there, and also that the boundaries change throughout time. You also expand on that in the book, and that
Mhm,
you, I mean, if you make them too strong, you can't even get out. So
mhm,
boundary making and the thoughts behind that are very important. Now,
yeah.
for a friend who might have decided that they were the airwolf in your book, because there are people, it's wonderful, there are charts to make it easier because you got all these words, it simplifies them.
Mhm,
There's charts. I envision them in color. There's little questions, there's journaling points you can make. It has the whole works. Now, you talk about Isis, and you say, okay, connect to Mother Isis when you need to utilize the power of words or want to heal any aspects of woundings around queenship. What
mhm.
does that mean? What is queenship to the regular person out there?
Okay, so queenship in particular, I mean, we can talk about queenship and kingship, you know, they are slightly different. Queenship is kind of where the feminine is being held in full self-respect, where she's able to discern, and where she is kind of, you know, ruling her land well. You know, she's in service. uh Isis is a great example of this, because, you know, she was a queen of Egypt. She became kind of that personification, you know, of queenship for the ancient Egyptian people. There's a really wonderful depiction of her, which came to me when I was doing the research for this book. That was of Isis actually riding a wolf, and this was really
Oh,
profound to me. And I was like, gosh, okay, so the wolf is the vehicle. These lessons are the vehicle. And this is talking about the way that we communicate and the voice as vehicle. So she's the goddess of magic and spells, how the spoken word, you know, her words are what brings her husband, the masculine, back to life. You know, so how are our words and our expression, our communication, how can it be a vehicle to bringing life, you know, to kind of using magic, alchemy, transforming, you know, that which is dull to gold, you know. And she can be really supportive in, if any of that resonates for you, you know. And that's the way that she works with wolf energy, is very much in that communication element. But communication, you know, like I said, um as the queen, so standing in authority. I know what I'm feeling. I know what I need to say. I know how to say it. And this is how I do it.
So it's confidence for the good, building your confidence for the good of the people around you. Once again, it's not about I'm in charge. It's about what powers can I use to help
Yeah,
others.
it's never I'm in charge. It's always I'm in service.
I'm in service.
I could
See,
say that 1,000
there
times.
is no. We why does everybody live on the other side of the world? Because we really need to have coffee and figure out this out. And to make little buttons that say radicalize kindness and find a title for your next book. And we're moving in. Okay, I'm gonna take just throw up a couple last comments here because they sort of talk about. So Robin Sims says, I have a man cave, and it's a hilarious House of Frightenstein cave. That was a local show that we grew up with the kids that had a Wolfman DJ. So it was a cool wolf, okay? As in I am the Wolfman. And Rachel's completely right. It's like a place to retreat to. So what are you running from? I'll have you on next week, Robin, to say what you need to retreat. And that you can't believe everything you read on the internet. My husband Dave is now saying I smell like pumpkin spice latte with a hint of apple pie. Lots of laughs.
Nice.
I don't think so. I think that's what he wants to have right now. And he's not going to have it. So, Rachel, my mind has been spinning through this whole show, which is why we have not gotten to Lupa. And excuse me. Why I had trouble. There is so much information, so many things that make you think about in Wolf. Your head will be spinning too, but in a good way. And read it, join our radicalized kindness movement, and be happy with yourself because that's what's most important. So I'm going to ask Rachel to describe a little bit about her Wolf Rising work, where she can find her books, what we can expect next from her, just the whole Rachel thing.
Yay. Yeah. So I don't know if most of your listeners are in America. So probably most of you will find me online. So it's going to be wolfwomanrising.com is the kind of the hub.
And if you're watching, it's rolling across the bottom of the screen.
Whee! Yeah, so from there, and then from there, any of your preferred outlets, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'm not on TikTok because it's not my embodiment to jump out of cupboards and go bleh
It's
or whatever,
very short too.
Anyway, so yeah, and I do courses, retreats, under my wisdom school, Wolfwoman Rising. It's all about, coming into the three pillars of my teachings, which is courage, trust, and authenticity. That's what we're always working towards and working with. I've got 2 books out, Lupa and Wolf, the ones that are out at the moment. There's more coming. So the next kind of deep dive is kind of going into Roman mythology, sharing more of the Roman gods and goddesses. So Pantheon of the Romans will be out next year, end of next year. Anything else? I have
You're
a workshop
amazing.
course coming up next month on the cave of the wolf.
Oh. So
Always doing
even if you
something.
forget everything we just said and you're just sitting there, remember Rachel S. Roberts, and just put that in your browser and all this other stuff will pop up. Okay. Well, put author after that. That always helps. Okay. So if you
Yeah,
just
come
remember
chat to
author
me because I like chatting to people.
or just put wolf book. And
Or to be honest,
as
just
Rachel,
howl and I might hear you.
she might. I didn't howl. So, and she's going to come back and play in February, even after all this. Rachel, say you will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, and
It's
she's
been
going to come
lovely.
back and
Thank
play here
you.
on Fika again, with us in February, and hopefully, we can break it down a little bit more because, like I said, heads are going to spin, puppies are going to run after squirrels. This is just a lot of stuff and ideas to take into. So, thank you, Rachel,
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
visiting with us. Keep up the good work, and maybe someday like Marie Sendex, Max, we can turn wild and come back accepted with a warm bowl of soup. That's all any of us want in the end. And thanks for getting us closer to it.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me here. And I hope everybody is inspired in some way by this to be courageously them.
There you go. Great final words. Okay, you take care and we'll talk later. Okay, bye-bye. Next week, we're going to be looking into an upcoming film, The 23 Letters from Vincent van Gogh, with guest Rob Camis, the writer, and Mark Ryan will be visiting us again as the executive producer and star. And that means the conversation is going to be an adventure all in its own. I'm already smiling. Another thing to smile about is that tomorrow is National Cinnamon Bun Day, a Fika favorite, and so easy to celebrate. You just have to eat a cinnamon bun or look at them. That's for the future when you're going to make them. So until then, may your coffee be hot and your story sweet. Thanks for listening, everyone.